You may know why through Cloud Dead. If you've never listened to Cloud Dead, I'd recommend listening to Cloud Dead. It's some really interesting experimental hip hop type stuff. Or you may know why through the Alopecia album, which came out many, many years ago, which has become one of those indie cult classic type albums. But after hearing this album, I would safely say you may not want to know why at all. There have been some pretty awful albums in 2019. I mean, most years have a handful of terrible albums that you hear, right? But there hasn't been an album yet that I've heard that is just incredibly inconsistent with its flow, inconsistent with its sequencing, just stylistically all over the place. This is the first of the year I think I've heard like this. This album here, AOKOHIO, I'm not entirely sure how you say it, I'll just leave it as this Y album here, is quite an interesting listen. You're really not sure what you're going to get with the next track. And even after a few listens, you're still like questioning what's coming next. There is just such a lack of consistency, and sometimes that can be such an exciting, breathtaking thing with an album that you hear, and you're just like taken away by how one track is completely different to another, and it's just all like a huge like wow, like what's going on? But here, maybe if the song sounded good, that would be the case, but it just isn't. Why you're definitely aiming for something very interesting here, but for me it just falls completely flat. Whether it be through the lyrics, whether it's through the singing, which quite often is really annoying to my ears for some reason, or it's just incredibly nondescript and dull. Like with the final track with the monotone delivery of the beware. And I can commend them for going for something quite grand at points. It definitely feels like, they're shooting for like an Illinois type thing by Sufjan Stevens, in the sense that some of the tracks just feel so bold and brave and just filled with so many creative ideas. And it is just one of those cases where the creativity just hinders everything, because there's just nothing to grab onto. Like, so many different ideas are thrown around and none of them seem to work really. You've got 19 tracks squeezed into 30 minutes. 19 tracks. Some of these tracks feel fully realized as well. Like, you've got like a 2 minute track, and it does feel like, okay, this is the length of the song, and that's fine. But then you've got like these really short bursts of just awfulness, like the track Rash. Sorry, it is the Rash, not just Rash. This is just so out of place. It is just hell. Everything going on here is awful to listen to. The sonic palette is just unbelievably grating. And it comes after the first track as well, which was a solid indie pop tune, and then you've got this random thing thrown in. And then the third track again is quite solid too. Like, you could have just thrown this out and just had it flowing quite nicely, but they just didn't. I just do struggle to see the vision of what they were going for here. Especially again when you read into the lyrics, which I mentioned earlier, some of the lyrics are just really poor and just so strange that you just really struggle to get a handle on what they're even aiming to do. Deleterio Matilis just honestly feels more like a satirical track, but its delivery is so poor that you couldn't tell it either way. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone was to come into a track like this and hear things like sex starved, or the opening lines where he says something like, he needs to try and figure out what type of wife he wants this woman to be for him, and things like that. Like, if you heard those types of things out of context, I think you would definitely be questioning what the hell this guy's trying to say or go for. But if it was sold well, like if it is a joke, then it's just falling so flat. The guy's got the most typical indie type nondescript voice you could possibly pick out of a lineup, like I've already said about him being nondescript at points. So it just makes it so hard for tracks like this to land if they are supposed to be some kind of funny, humorous thing. And even if some of the tracks again are aiming for that with the way that the cartoonish sounds of a lot of them, like you know, like if this guy could sell it and make it funny, then maybe I would be coming out of this album feeling a lot differently. But because of the way he draws on, it really is a drag. Each time I played this as well, it felt like it was going on longer and longer, which is so poor for a short album. Like this should be the ultimate length of an album that you want. It just doesn't work. The track "The Crippled Physician" has this moment where like you can tell that they're trying to like have this like bursting sunlight of a chorus, like the way it kind of crashes through kind of like softly, but then the vocals, I think it's a guest female vocalist here. Oh, she just has the most mundane delivery I think I've ever fucking heard. I can definitely commend them for coming through with some really nice vocal melodies at points, especially on a track like this Stained Glass Slipper with the like that. It's pretty cute and you know, soft and melodic that I can definitely praise them for, and I can certainly praise them for attempting something that's really out there and avant-garde, because I think that's what this album really is. But it doesn't necessarily mean to say, you know, they get all the praise just for doing that. It just really doesn't work for me throughout as a whole album, and that's kind of an issue when it's already so short. But I can pick out a few tracks that did work for me. But yeah, overall, this is a 4 out of 10. Not anything like on the level of some of the worst things I've heard all year, but like just that lack of consistency was really weird to come across, which did really bump this album down to being a bad one. Thank you for watching my review. If you have heard this album, let me know how you feel on it. And let me know what I should talk about next on this channel. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.